I don't spend much time thinking how am I going to make a career out of this and how am I going to earn money. So to attend an event like this is really useful.
Do you know how much it costs you to produce your work? Understanding how much your work costs you is a good basis for developing a price. And then the other side of it, of course, is do you know the market for your work? And do you know how to set a retail price? And do you understand what a retail price is as opposed to a wholesale price? Artists are business people. Artists are, almost to a man, woman, self-employed. So you're effectively running your own businesses. And you know, the data shows that visual artists are 3 times as likely as the working population in general to be self-employed. Amelia and I come from a gallery-based background. So whilst we're going to be talking a lot from the perspective of our experience of working with artists and craftspeople, I think a lot of what we're going to talk about is also going to apply to people who might be working in other fields, such as photography, such as design, maybe even in terms of software design or website design. Interestingly, the UK, despite our small size as a nation, we're still the 3rd largest art economy in the world after the USA and China. And one thing I find particularly interesting, and I think it's probably getting driven by younger artists that are starting to take more control of their own careers, is that the online sales market is the fastest growing sector of this market. I guess my argument is that to be able to operate in this economy and to be able to live as an artist, an important part of that is being able to price your work effectively. I think there's 2 distinct approaches to pricing. One way of looking at how you price your work is what I would call the business planning model. And that includes really looking at what your overheads are, what income you're looking to have out of being an artist or working in a creative industry, and how that gets balanced against where you are in your career and what your level of experience is. The other side of it is the market-led parameter, and that's identifying really what your peers are charging for similar work, and it's also balanced again by what the market will pay for that work. This is a sort of very simplified attempt to look at what we think are the main constituent parts of being able to price your work. And we're going to look at each of these in a bit more detail. So materials. Materials is the obvious one, isn't it? You know, if you're producing a physical piece of work, you need to buy the materials that enable you to do that. But we would argue there's a lot of other sort of factors you need to take into account other than the materials that go into the final finished piece of work. We would argue, coming from a gallery perspective, that the presentation of the work is equally as important as the final piece itself. If you have to operate a studio, the rent and the service charges for the studio workshop are normally one of the most expensive costs you have. Also, I would say your phone, and probably a mobile phone, because you use that for a great deal of your social interaction, social media. Don't forget equipment purchases, the cost of your laptop, any tools you need, and any other presentation materials that you might need. If you're a self-employed person, you actually need to think about developing your own pension plan. Increasingly, our governments are looking for us to stand on our own 2 feet. So it's certainly something we're thinking about. If you have an accountant or you do your own accounting with software, all the fees for that. Most importantly, the taxman and your national insurance. This is all part of building the picture of what your business costs you to run and produce. I think databases are really important to artists because building up a network of contacts, whether it's potential collectors, whether it's a curator you've met, or a gallery owner, or someone who writes about art, building up a database of all these contacts is really important to you because you may not think there is something to be done with that person today.
Art world, where established artists see their work becoming more commodified and bespoke. Artsy and Saatchi Art, you can use these to upload your work to. There's quite a large community on there. It's a good idea to sign up to lots of newsletters for galleries and websites to get the latest opportunities and information. We've got local organisations listed here. It's a really good idea to go and introduce yourself, to get yourself known around the area. You never know what could come from that. The more you show your face, the more opportunities that will probably come up.